Hello there. Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures, and welcome back to the shop and what is an Arctic Cat thing that we're doing suspension things to. We're rebuilding the shocks, people. Stick around. Well, if any of you remember the first time out riding on the Arctic Cat back there, and it's been a while ago now, more than a year, well more than a year. Anyway, everything went mostly fine, you know, belt exploded, things like that, but the suspension was horrible. I feel like the tires are bouncing quite a bit. Makes me wonder if the shocks are maybe a little on the loosey-goosey side. It was knocking and banging around, and since then I thought it maybe was the sway bar bushing, so replace those, which let me tell you, on an Arctic Cat, that's a lot of work. Anyway, did that anyway, replaced the sway bar bushings. It literally made no difference. The sway bar was loose in there, but it made no difference whatsoever. It went to King of the Hammers more than a year ago, and same thing, but I was following it, and I could see tires just bouncing. Came to the conclusion pretty quick, actually before that, that the shocks weren't doing shock things. Actually, the right front was actually good. It was the only thing that stayed on the ground. Everything else was just bouncing. And so I've decided once again to do something, to try to do something myself that I've never done before. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I'll do it again. I don't know. We'll see how it goes when it's done, if these things work or not. So I'm rebuilding the shocks, because to take them to the suspension shop, it's almost $700 to have them all four rebuilt. And you think, that's not too much money. I want to try to do it myself, though. Let's try to learn something. Now, I've probably spent a couple $100 in parts, you know, between all the seals, a gallon of a gallon of shock oil, and an IFP puller tool, because you will need that. A little tub of grease, you know, for greasing up O-rings, things like that. And everything else I just kind of have around here, and we're making do with whatever else tools we have that we will do the shock rebuild. Look, it's been a long day. It's getting towards the end of the day. The words are just not happening at all. Anyway, where was it? We're going to rebuild them myself. So I'll be honest, I've already done 3, and we know that because they're sitting right there. There's the 2 fronts, there's one of the rears, and the other rear is right here, ready to go. Now, I've made mistakes on those first 3, oddly very different mistakes on all 3 of those. I'm going to talk you through the mistakes, but I'm hoping that I can film the rebuild on the 4th shock, and maybe we won't make the mistakes. Y'all won't yell at me, but I can talk you through what I did wrong before. The disassembly is easy. Taking it apart is easy. Cleaning it, it's easy. Honestly, putting it back together is easy. What's difficult and tedious and requires a certain process that if you don't follow it, you're going to have air in the shock. That is the hard part. And we'll see when we get there. Everything up to that point, it's going to go pretty quick. Disassembly, dumping the old oil, all those things, going to go quick. I guess let's just get into it, and we'll chit-chat as we're doing the thing. All right, here we go. So we've got a rear shock just sitting here. You know, the first thing we're going to do, and I don't know which camera to look at. I've got one there, and I've got you people over there. Whatever. First thing we got to do, we got to get the spring off. Easy enough. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. There's the long way, which involves, instead of compressing the spring, you actually undo the threads on the preload, and then you got to measure it and remember where it was. And the height, the right height and all that was okay. So instead of doing any of that, we're actually going to use spring compressors and just compress the spring so we can slide the, so we can slide the top part. I don't know what it's called. So we can slide that out. Now, we're not going to compress these a whole lot, just enough to get that collar off up there. So we're not going to make, we're not going to make a spring bomb, if you will. That's all. We just needed to get this piece out. We're just going to put it over there. Now we can take the compressors back off. And if you're going to use compressors, do make sure you put some oil on the threads. Just make your life a little easier. The Arctic Cat is very strange with the suspension. And what I mean by that, both of these springs are referred to in the parts diagram as a main spring, and there's barely any difference between them. But you do want to make sure you put them back on the way they came off. So I'm going to put a zip tie on the one that's in this position here. Take the slider out. Now I have had these shocks off once before. I replaced the sliders because I thought that was part of the issue, because the bottom spring was arcing, whatever you want to say about it. And it was banging against the shock body. Not this one as bad as the other one. The sleeve, the slider, was in such bad shape that it was no longer a circle, it was an oval. So it was just twisting. And anyway, I bought these. They're actual Fox brand, but they're an upgraded version in my mind, simply because they're longer, so they should work better. Okay, let's see. Next, we need to get the cap out of the, reservoir cap. We need to get the reservoir cap off. And to do that, I need to explain a little bit about the reservoir caps. These, oh, that's already a bad sign. These reservoir caps don't have a Schrader valve. They have a ball and a rubber plug. To fill it, there's a little plastic ball here. You pop it out, and then you shove a needle down through a rubber plug, inject it with all of the nitrogen. Well, those are prone to leak, and this one has leaked because it's all gummy here at the bottom. I was kind of surprised at how easy that just moved for no reason. That tells me one of two things, and probably both are true. And first is that shock fluid has escaped. Well, you can look all around the shock and see that shock fluid has escaped. And number two, nitrogen has escaped. And to prove that point, let me see if this camera can focus in on it. Let's bring it over here and aim it down. Like I was saying, to prove that point, let's see if we can just push down on the reservoir. And we can. If there was 200 pounds of nitrogen in there, that would be impossible. But there is some, because it wasn't terribly easy to push down, and it did come back up. So, couple of things we can do. We can push this down far enough to pull the snap ring out from in here, and then just kind of shove this down and pop it up. Or we can get this plastic ball out, stick a needle down in there, and let the pressure out. Most of the videos will tell you to do that, but here's sort of the thing. Let me pick this back up to where it was. There we go. We're not going to reuse any of that. We're actually going to convert the reservoir cap to a Schrader valve. We're going to do that because they're not likely to leak and they can be refilled easily. So what I'm going to do is grab the very high-tech snap ring removal tool that I have here. It's just a bent up screwdriver. And I'm just going to push this down in, kind of hold it. Oh, it's dirty. And I'm going to find the end of it. And we're just going to take this thing out. And that's it. That's all that's holding the reservoir cap in. Now this is wanting to come back out, so this is where it could make a mess. As a matter of fact, we're probably going to make a mess, so let's move a few things away. Put that over there. And we're just going to push down on this, and that IFP, that piston that's in here, is going to come up, and a little bit of air pressure is going to pop this up. And it may make a mess. So we're going to stand further back. And that should show you how little nitrogen is in there. It didn't even pop this up. I can still push it down. Oh, I just heard it go psst. Did you hear that? Yeah. So now it's a little bit more difficult to get out. I think I can grab, it's a little cap in here. When we get this apart, we'll show it to you. I think we can grab that. There's some threads on it. Well, it's almost all the way out now. I've made it a little bit more difficult than I probably need. I could have drilled a hole, done all of that, but that's okay. Let's see. We don't really want to pry on it or put pliers on it. I mean, we can put a rag on it, maybe grab a big pair of pliers, and maybe, there it goes. Perfect. So we've got our cap out. Got a rag over there. And we'll go over all of these parts in a little bit. But first, what we're going to do is always put things sort of on our table in the order that we took them off. Looking down in here, you can see there's oil, very dirty oil, down in here where the IFP is. It's not fantastic. So we're going to take our IFP tool. This is a Fox shock, so you've got a bit of a D pattern, and this IFP tool, it's like a 4-in-1. It's got patterns for all the different shock brands. And it's from shockseals.com, which is where we got all of our seals from as well. You just kind of set that on there, give them a quarter turn, and we can just pull the IFP out. This is going to make a mess. There we go. Mess has been made. And for now, we're just going to take it off. We're going to dump out the oil that's in here. And we're going to set it, again, in the order that things come out. This one stinks. They don't normally smell this bad. Okay. Almost forgot. Something you need to do. Your compression valve down here. You need to run it all the way in and count how many clicks you hear and feel. That tells you how far to set it when you're ready to put it back on the car. Now, I've already done that with the other shock, and this one's going to be the same. This one's 10 clicks out. After you've written that down, turn it out all the way. That'll let the fluid move a little bit more flowy. All right. We're just pulling this up so we can get this part out. Now, there's, of course, different styles to this as well. Some of them, this little cap threads in. This one just kind of pushes in, and because of that, it'll just push right back out. You know, they make a tool for this. There is no need to buy the tool for this. This is quite easy. It's not set that far in here. This is my fourth one, and I have yet to make a mark on any of them. Okay, we need some zip ties. That's probably enough. And I want to zip tie this on here first. For no reason other than to keep it out of my way. Now we're just going to pull. No, we're not. Sorry, this is why I needed the zip tie. I am just inside here. We've got another piston, and we need to push that down because there's another snap ring holding this together. So we're going to push that down like that. Let's get our fancy tool, and again, we're just going to pop that ring out of here. Those two rings are exactly the same. Don't need to worry about not mixing them up. And now we're going to pull the shaft out. And this is going to be a mess as well. Or it's not, because there's nothing in it. Okay. Just going to set that there. There's a wear band, or whatever you want to call it. And now we're done with the shock body for now. We're just going to take it off of here and dump out all the oil. Now, it is also worth saying you should be using soft jaw vices. However, I don't own any soft jaw attachments from our vices, and I couldn't be bothered to go anywhere to buy some, so I didn't. So, we just used a rag. It's fine. Anyway, make sure you buy plenty of shop grade Windex, or what I call brake parts cleaner. You use a lot of it. So I'm going to clean this up real quick and just hang it over there to dry. Okay, now we're going to put this guy in the vise. Lovely. And we're just going to disassemble this. It's not rocket science. However, you do want to make sure you keep everything in order, and you've got your shims and valve stacks you need to keep in the right order. That's why we got zip ties right there, people. Anyway, let's take that off. That's a nut of whatever I think it is. I think it's 3/4, and it is. Now these shocks, as you know, my Arctic Cat's a 2014 4X Wildcat. So these are the original Fox Podiums that came on them. The parts you would use are for a Fox 2.0. Same thing, roughly. Here we go. There's our nut. Let's get a zip tie and our first set of shims and valves, and we're just going to zip tie them up and set them on the table. And I like to put, however they go on this way, I leave it up on the table. And then we have this thing, which is, I don't know, a metal valve thing, very sharp edges. Now this has a particular way it goes up and down, and I think I'll go to this camera over here. The side up, which is actually down, but up, that faces us, has like a T here. The bottom side does not have a T. So that's how I, in my mind, keep that straight. Put that there. Okay, grab another zip tie and grab this next stack, zip tie them. They're dripping all over the place, and that's to be expected and is fine. Those are dirty. We'll clean those up in a bit. Pull the spacer out. And finally, this piston or bearing, whatever you want to call it, it's a thing. Put that down. And now we can take this off, and we'll take the cap off. And lastly, the bumper. Rubber baby buggy bumper, rubber baby buggy bumper. I've said it twice fast, and I cannot do it again, so don't ask. So now I'm going to take the shaft out of here, and we're just going to clean it up nice. So we are very, very fortunate that, as bad as these shocks are, these shafts are the shafts. They're in good shape. They're not scratched up. They're not pitted. They're in really nice shape. So that's nice. I'm just going to set that down now. Okay. I'm going to clean up this bumper while I'm thinking about it. I'm just going to use simple green. It's rubber, so I don't necessarily want to use brake parts cleaner. We'll just use simple green. And these bushings should be replaced, these bump stops. But I'm not going to. It's fine. They're not super cracked. They're fine. Okay. Very good. So now the shock body is hanging over there. I'll show you that in a bit. We're going to get into all of these things here. Yes, indeed. You can see here I've just got the shock body hanging on a piece of metal over the trash can so it can drip dry directly into the trash can. You can also see all of the various cans of brake parts cleaner. I'm telling you, you're going to go through a lot of it. Anyway, let's get you reset up again, and we'll just get, we have to do hold on. Okay, so here we go. We've got everything laid out here. We're going to do some disassembly and some cleaning. So first thing I'm going to do is grab this guy. This is the thing, Reservoir Cap. So we're going to take that O-ring off, and I like to set the used O-rings off over here. Now this has a little hole in the backside, and there's a rubber thing and a ball, and we need to get all of that out. So I'm going to grab a pick, kind of try to shove all that out. It's not easy. That little ball does not like to come quietly, which is fine. We have a little drill. So we're just going to drill a hole in the middle of the ball. Doesn't even have to be in the middle. And we should be able to pick the ball out. Now, oddly, this rebuild kits that I have didn't come with the new plastic balls. We're going to throw that away. It did not. And then this takes whatever size this is, 3/16 maybe. There it goes. And we're not going to need this anymore, so throw that away. And then in here's the little rubber bit, so we're going to pop that out with a pick. And there it is. The seal kit does come with these, but again, we're not going to use it. Clean this up. Okay, there we go. Nice and clean. And we'll come back to that later because we have to do work on that later. Okay, here's our IFP, or internal floating piston. We've got a few things to do. There's another wear band. We're going to take that off. Take a pick, pull this giant O-ring out of here. And there's a little screw in here that we're going to take out. That takes, for this brand of shock, a 1/8 inch Allen key. There we go. And then there's going to be a little O-ring on there. So I'm going to set the screw in the O-ring here and clean this guy off. And just like that, that can is empty. Look, just go on Amazon, buy yourself a case, like a case of 12. You'll spend like 36, 40 bucks. It's cheaper than going to the parts store to get it. And anyway, so there's that. A little bit of moisture in there. Let's get that out. Perfect. Done. Shim stack, we're just going to blow the really dirty stuff off these shims and valves, or whatever you call them. We just don't want to introduce a lot of yucky stuff back in. Okay, this guy has a tiny little O-ring here. which is oddly difficult to hook and get off. There we go. Set that there, and if you remember, one of these wear bands came off of there. We don't care about those so much. All right, let's clean this off. Okay, clean up this stack. Just trying not to introduce a ton of dirt back in. Clean this thing off. Okay, now this guy, let me get a chair because that guy's tricky. First off, this piston has the big O-ring, so we'll just go ahead and get that out of the way because it's easy. You know what I mean. Okay. Now inside, there's a couple more seals. There's a wiper seal and then like a spacer seal. Let me angle this up a hair. Oops, that turned. Sorry about that. Okay. So down inside, there's, like I just said, a wiper seal and a spacer seal. The spacer seal is on the bottom here. It's actually kind of difficult to get these out. So what I've been doing is taking this hook, kind of grabbing it from the bottom. You can see where I'm kind of grabbing like this, trying really hard not to mar the surface of the inside of this thing up, and just kind of hooking it and pulling it until it comes out. And some of them have been easier than others. The most recent shock that I did actually popped right out. The first one and the second one did not. I just stabbed my finger. That's nice, considering it's covered in shock oil. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. But I'll be honest, my favorite video that I've watched, which is from the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Squared website, or YouTube channel, I guess you should say, could say whatever. He doesn't show a lot of the hard things like this. They just say, okay, now that the seal's out. They do show making sure you get the seal back in. Okay, here we go. The wiper seal is out. Now, if you look at the wiper seal, you've got one side that's just flat and another side that has a groove. It's important to note that because that side that has a groove goes in the this way sort of direction. Okay. And then there's a spacer seal in here which comes out pretty easy. It's just flat, looks like a washer, but it's a rubber seal, and it's got a split in it to make it easy to put the new one in, because those stack on each other in here, and I don't really know why. That's just the way they made it. There it is. It's got a slit in it that's tapered in both ways. It makes it easy to put the new one in. Okay, this is all emptied out, so now we can clean it up. And then finally we have the cap. The cap also has a wiper seal on it. You just can't see it. Maybe I can clean it first. Not so much. This is kind of what happens when these things get dirty and leak oil. Now you can kind of see the wiper seal. And this one, same kind of thing. That part with the groove kind of faces up. So we're just going to take this out. This one's not too hard to get out. There we go. Perfect. Now let's clean this thing up. Look at the inside of that. Ew. Okay. All right, folks. That is much better. So like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, that IFP puller tool and you know, our seals, they come from a place called shockseals.com. They're actually local here in Southern California, so you get the shipping pretty quickly, which is nice. It's like 20 bucks or so for each shock. And these are Fox Podium Reservoir Seal Kit 0.625. That refers to the shock shaft, whatever that is, 5/8 of an inch shaft. OEM and aftermarket and MC. Anyway, I like this kit because it literally comes with everything. So many other kits don't come with everything, and they don't come with new wear bands. You know, these things. You need them, in my mind. So now what we're going to do is just kind of match up all of the O-rings and seals to their respective things. And we're just going to start putting seals on. Start with the IFP, internal floating piston, the little tiny screw that goes inside of it. Yep. The valve, at least that's what I think it's called, is a valve. That goes on there. This thing. So I'm going to start with the hard bits first. So the easiest way I found to put this in, now remember, it's very specific. The part with the groove faces the rubber bit. That's why I keep everything facing the same direction on the table. Anyway, this is going to set in to this groove on the bottom, and this spacer, I'm calling it a spacer, is going to sit on top. Now you obviously can't probably put them in at the same time. So what I'm going to do is push this in from this direction, and it makes it go in a lot easier than trying to fight it from the bottom. You just kind of push it in. It's not easy. It's a little scary because look, if you mess this seal up, you know, you don't have any more. If you're going to use a tool, make sure it's a soft tool. Okay, almost got it all the way in. It's just difficult. Once you get it all the way in, you'll know because it'll be all the way in. Go figure. Okay, got it all the way in. You can kind of see. So now, ever so gently, I'm going to take the tip of my screwdriver and just make sure that that seal is pushed all the way that way. Then I'm going to take the spacer in the part that tapers this way. I'm just going to start feeding it in until I can't anymore. And it will take up that space that's left, and it will get so far to the end and you'll have a little bit left sticking out. This is where, to be very careful, I like to take this same little screwdriver tool I've got and just kind of push on that end and get it to go in, because you have to spread this back out because you've kind of bunched it up getting it in. You can see we've almost got it. Yeah. And you'll know you've got it in once again because you'll look through here and it's just smooth. You can put your finger in there and you can feel that it's all the way in. And that's, well, that's nice. Okay. If you look inside, you can see them stacked in there. I don't know if the camera's going to focus on that, but you can see it. All right, so now we're just going to take our big O-ring and stick it on the outside. Lovely. And then finally, this seal, it'll just push right in like that. And it should be flush on the inside. Boom. So now that that's all done, we're going to pick up all the used seals. And I am going to take away this used seal, and we're just going to put them in the trash can right there. Now, what we need to do is modify our reservoir cap. Again, the thing that comes in here, they don't hold the nitrogen very well. They're hard to recharge when they do lose the nitrogen. So we're putting a Schrader valve in it. For that, we're going to go to that workbench over there. Okay. Welcome to the other workbench, which we hardly ever put on camera, and maybe that it's... Welcome to the other workbench, which we never really put on camera, and that's because it's in an awkward place, and it's usually very messy. That is one squeaky Toyota. Anyway, we're going to use it now and you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not going to bother cleaning it. We have to drill a hole in this so we can put a Schrader valve in it. Okay, so once again, I don't have soft jaw clamps or vices or whatever, so I'm just gonna use a towel. Make sure that's good and snug. Grab my drill. Now this is whatever size drill bit it is. I just looked at it and I've already forgotten. 21/64 of an inch. High strength steel, it says. This is just aluminum, so don't put your drill on kill mode. Put it in low gear. And we're just going to drill straight through it. So nice and easy, nice and slow, because if we go too fast, this is going to move and it's going to wrap up the towel and we'll just have to reset it and do it again. So we don't want to do any of that. So just nice and slow and easy. Perfect. Take this out. And we'll go get rid of all these aluminum metal shavings. And we'll put it back. And then we'll put this in. Now this is really thick, right? And then half of it is solid. So you can put some pressure on this and it'll be okay. Just don't overdo it. Just enough pressure to keep it from spinning as you're tapping this. Now the tap we're using it's called a 1/8 27 NPT. Make sure, so what I did is I went on the Amazon website and I found a nice made in the USA brand. I'm putting some cutting oil on the stuff here just to make it easier. Anyway, I found some nice made in the USA stuff that's really good quality for these taps. I didn't want to go cheap because I didn't want to break it. And then here we go. And we're just gonna thread it. Now, you're not gonna be able to just go bam all the way through. You're gonna end up going down a bit. It's gonna stop. You're gonna have to back up, clear the burrs, and keep going. There we go. Now you'll probably notice I didn't go all the way through. You don't need to go all the way through with these. You only need to go far enough that the threads of the Schrader valve will go all the way down in seat. You don't have to go all the way through it. So that's enough. I'm going to clean up this mess and meet you back over at the other workbench again. All right, people, we are back at the other workbench that we started at. This is the Schrader valves here that I've chosen. These are from Amazon. They're called Baja something or other Schrader valve. And I'm going to go ahead and take it apart and you'll see why later. They're meant for this specific application of doing this conversion that we're doing. But you can get these from anywhere. Just don't go cheap. You know, you can buy a set on the Amazon for super cheap, 10 bucks for a set of them. Don't do that. Spend more than $10. Shockseals.com also has them. I'll be honest, I don't know why I didn't just buy them from there. There's also some other things that you can do, which are probably a good idea. And to be honest, if this car, this Arctic Cat, you know, was for me specifically all the time and I was going to be the one driving it, I would probably do it. Honestly, if that was the case, I probably wouldn't have bought an Arctic Cat. Or instead of rebuilding shocks, I would buy all new shocks from some other manufacturer like, I don't know, Elka, maybe Fox, whatever. But it's not. This is You got to remember, this car is literally for everybody else in the family to enjoy, and we'll drive it occasionally, but anyway. So we're just doing a rebuild, and I've lost my train of thought. Oh, you can buy reservoir caps that are elongated and they'll hold more nitrogen, and that's supposed to make it better. So anyway, I'm just going to thread this on, and this is a 7/16. I think that's what it is. This one in particular, yep, 7/16. And I don't know if you're supposed to use Teflon, but I used an O-ring on the first one, and I leak tested it with air. I don't have any nitrogen around here, but I hooked the air compressor up to it and leak tested it. It was leaking. So I took the O-ring off, did better with the Teflon there, and just tightened it like that, and no more leak. So there we go. Now we can put the O-ring on this one. I'm trying not to roll it, you know. Okay, so I truly wish that was everything needed to rebuild the shocks. I really, really do. That's all the easy stuff in my mind. In my mind, we've done all the easy bits. Now comes the hard bit, and that is putting it back together, specifically filling the oil. I find it difficult and frustrating. So much so that I had the wife stop at the store and buy me an extra little bit of oil, because I don't think the gallon's going to make it. I think I've wasted too much of it. Anyway, let's go set up over yonder way, which is right here, and start putting this mess back together. All right, so we're going to start by just putting the shaft back in our makeshift soft jaw vise. And do not forget, the first thing you need to put on is your bumper, because if you forget to put that on, that's a lot of work to remember to put that back on. Okay, we're going to put everything back on in the reverse order we took it off, and we're going to put some grease on everything. Well, the seals anyway. So we're just I'm gonna get a dab, and I'm gonna put some grease on the inside of this seal, and yep, and put the seal on. Now, ideally, should be using a seal bullet. I ordered a seal bullet. I actually ordered a set of them, and when they arrived, they didn't fit. Anyway, so now we're going to take a zip tie. This will come in handy later, and we'll just snug it, put it on there, and that's fine. Now we're going to take our next seal and kind of repeat a little bit. Seal grease on the inside, yes. Seal grease on the outside. Yes, lots of seal grease. That's fine. And put this one on. And we're just going to slide that all the way down as well. And now we're going to put the spacer. And one more zip tie. Perfect. Now for the top. Okay, we take our first set of shims and cut. Where's my cutter? Here's my cutters. Cut the zip tie and set those on. Just remember the direction they came off. If you forget, this first set's got a big, thick washer, and that goes on first. And now we take the valve. Again, put some more grease, which this one, I'm only putting grease because I like to. The wear band goes on this one. Remember the direction this goes. There we go. And get the grease off the finger. Yep. Okay. Then our last set of shims and valves, or whatever they're called, those will go on. And this one, if you ever forget which direction, the small one Goes up here towards the top. And we put our nut. And we're going to tighten our nut. Bottomed out, cool. Take our torque wrench. Now here's something, I don't know the real torque spec for this. Here's the thing. I have a shop manual. It tells you how to do the full rebuild process, but one thing it doesn't tell you is what the torque of this nut is. On the online, it's either 18 or 22 foot-pounds. I'm going with 22. Perfect. So with that, our shaft assembly is done. We can take it out of the vise. And I really wish that was all of it again, but it is not. We still have the hardest bit left to go. Let's open the vise. Okay, now we're going to put our shock body assembly in. Our soft jaw vise. Sure, it's upright, close enough. Now here's where I'm going to be a bit honest with you. There's a television behind you over there, and I will be using it because, oh, let's wipe right in there. I will be using it because there is a reference video that I like very much for doing this. It's very good, it's very thorough, because this, in my mind, it's a very tedious process, and I don't really want to mess it up. I've already done enough of that a couple of other times. So I will most likely be stopping and starting this video as I go through. All right, so we're going to take our oil, of which there's not enough of at this point, and we're going to fill the reservoir body. Don't forget, we've got this compression turned all the way out, so it will allow the most freedom of movement of fluid. We're going to pour this in until it reaches the top of the reservoir body. And then we're going to let it sit, because it's slowly going to work its way into the shock body. Talk amongst yourselves. So according to the guy in the video, the reason we're doing it this way is because this is the easiest way to make sure up front you're getting all the air out of the head unit where the reservoir mounts, you know, where it passes through. It's the easiest and fastest way to make sure we're getting all the air out of that, because that fluid is slowly going down and it's coming up, and at some point they will equalize. At some point. And you want to get this to where it comes up to where the snap ring is almost and stays there. Well, what is that racket now? Neighbor's doing some stuff. They're pretty well equalized, but we still need to keep adding. But we need it to stop going down, because at some point we've got to put the IFP down in there. It's still going down. Fabulous. Okay, I think just a little bit more fluid, and I'm trying really hard to conserve, so we're not going to put a bunch more. That's enough right there. Okay, put it down. So we're going to take our IFP, internal floating piston, and obviously we're going to coat the O-ring in the grease, because that's what you do. Find your rag. That's good. And we're just going to set it. We're not going to put it very far. We're just going to get it sort of to there. And the reason is because we need to put a wear band on this. We're going to put some grease on the wear band. And this is tricky in my mind. So I've got an extra little camera, aka my iPhone, and hopefully will help to show how I do this. So I'm wrapping this around, and then I'm going to just hold it as best I can with my finger, putting slight pressure down until that goes in. And there we go. That's gone in. So now what we do is we just push this the rest of the way down. And we're going to push it down. Oil's going to shoot out like that. And we're going to push it down until it is submerged in that nice red fluid. And we want it down in there like that. All right, and now we're going to push play on the video and learn some more. Okay, now we're going to put the screw in. I don't know why, but I'm putting a little bit of grease on the screw. Probably doesn't need it. It's going right in the oil, as you know. But what I am going to do is grab my Allen key and dip the head of the Allen key in the grease just so it kind of sticks to the screw, you know? And then we're going to install the screw. It's below the surface of the oil, so that will keep air from being introduced to our system at this point. We're going to snug it, and if you turn it, it may turn the piston. That's okay. This is not the final time we're going to install that. We're going to take it out a little bit later, do it again. Now, I have consulted the man in the video one more time. We're going to take our IFP tool, get it set on there, and we're going to push the piston all the way to the bottom, till it bottoms out. What that really just did was raise fluid up in the shock body, and it's all the way up to about here now. So now we're going to take some more fluid, and we're going to put quite a bit more. Now, the man in the video says to put this until it's about 1 inch from the top. I have found a lot of waste in doing that. So we're not going to go quite that far. The reason why is when we go to put this entire assembly back in, this spacer takes the place of fluid. That's a lot of fluid that it's got to displace, right? Which is why we zip tied it up, because one of the steps coming soon involves us taking this part where the valves are, just going up and down and working out all the bubbles. Well, we want to waste as little fluid as possible. Okay, now that we have more fluid, I shouldn't have taken this out. We're going to put it back in, set it on there, you know, give it the quarter turn, and we're going to work the piston up and down to about halfway in the reservoir here. This is just going to help us to get more air out of the system. And it is a snug fit, so don't be surprised if this is difficult. And this is helping to work more air out. The good thing is what I'm not seeing on this side is air bubbles. It's a good thing. That means so far, we're kind of doing a good job. Okay, now we're going to pull the IFP near the top of the reservoir, probably about 1 inch or so. That's fine. Take this thing out, and we're going to tighten the compression all the way up, like that. Okay. Put more fluid in the top. Now, ideally, at this point, we should not have to add much in the way of fluid. Let's hope. Okay, so next, we're going to be putting the whole shebang shaboodle up in here. So that means we need this other wear band ready to go. And again, I don't like this part because it's tricky, but that's okay. So I'm going to wrap the wear band around the valve and try to get that started and see it didn't work. So now we have to do it again. This is where you need 3 hands. And it popped out, didn't work again. And you do have to be careful because you don't want to, you know, damage this wear band, because you don't really want to put the old one back in. I mean, I guess you can if you have to. That's why some of these kits don't come with new ones. Man, this one is just fighting me. I'm just not getting it. There we go. Got it in that time. So now I'm just gonna set it there for now. So now we're just gonna cycle this a few times down into the fluid, okay? So very slowly, we're just gonna push this down. We don't have to go very far, maybe an inch at a time. Now we've cranked on this here to try to keep the fluid from moving that IFP too much up and down. And the idea here is just working out air. And when we come up, we want to go slow. Otherwise, we're going to pull fluid up and suck that IFP down, which we don't really want to do right now. Slowly, very good. We're going to do this a few times till I stop really hearing the noise of the air in that valve assembly. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Now I'm going to hang on to this and I'm going to wrap. I'm going to whack. I'm going to hit. I'm going to smack the top of this with a dead blow, hanging on to it. And that's just to get a little bit of chatter, loosen up the valve assembly and shims and all that, just to let some air out. Says you can do it 3 times. We're going to go 5. There we go. Still hearing a little bit. Go slow. Yes. And the one thing we definitely don't want to do is we don't want to pull that assembly back out of the oil, as you would probably guess by now. Anyway, I'm not really seeing any air. I see that IFP wanting to come out though. Okay. Very good. So this is where our instructions differ slightly from the video that I referenced. And that is because of the size of this spacer right here, or bushing, whatever you want to call it. It's very big, so that amount of fluid is going to displace and go everywhere. That's fine. So we're going to let that go down in, and we're going to see fluid just come out of everywhere. Okay. Yeah, like that. So it's in there. Getting a little bit of air out of that. So we're just gonna, I think we're just gonna tap on this. Yep, that looks good. Now, in the video, the guy's shock had threads on the inside. We don't have that. We have this thing, which pushes down and gets held in place with a snap ring, as we know. So we're going to make sure that we put this, and we're going to push down until it won't go anymore. Make sure this is all the way up, which there it is. That won't push down anymore. And now we're going to release the compression on this at the bottom, because we have to shove this thing back down inside. And we need to push it down just far enough to be able to get that snap ring back in, which should be, that should be far enough right there. And you can see our IFP is right here at the top, which is fine. Where's my, here we go, snap ring. And you probably should be wearing gloves working with all this, but it's fine. So what I'm going to do next is first I'm going to push on the IFP to push this back up to where it meets the ring, which is pretty much there, because that will not compress anymore. Okay, take the tool out. Now we're going to take the little, you know, the little screw out of the middle of this. And I wish there was more fluid in here. Let's pour some more into the top. That's fine. We just don't want air getting in. So we need to get this thing out. Let's put a little bit of grease on the tip of this so it will grab the screw. And there we go. Got the screw out. And now we're going to set the IFP depth. Now, this is where it just gets tricky. Because for an Arctic Cat, specs don't exist for IFP depth. Even the shop service manual that tells you how to fully rebuild these shocks tell you to set it to the specified depth. That doesn't exist anywhere. Fox doesn't know, because they don't even really know much about these because they're for Arctic Cat. Like the spring weights. Good luck trying to find out what those spring weights are. They don't exist either. So what I did, and I would have gone to where they were when I took the shock apart, but if you notice, the shock was useless. The oil was missing. It would have been impossible to know where that was set. So what I've done is I discovered for about the same year Polaris with the same roughly shocks, the front IFP depth was 2.4 inches, the rears were 3.4 inches. I'm just going with that. So I'm going to push this down first for a bit. And then I have a caliper that I have set, you know, the part that sticks out of the bottom at 3.4 inches. And you can just push this down until it's there. And there's tools they make for this. They're very expensive. But there we are, 3.4 inches. That's pretty easy. Take this out. Unfortunately, there's a lot of fluid right there, and we need to put this screw back in, which is fine. I can kind of see it. So we're just gonna go down in there, find the middle. That wasn't the middle. And put the screw in. Now, oddly and nicely, the D-ring, you know, the part that fits into the bottom of this, it's a D shape. Not really a D shape, it's more of an oval shape. It's 9/16 is how much big it is, so you can put that on it and you can tighten it without marring anything up. And now I'm going to put that funnel on there, and we're going to dump out the rest of this here fluid. Back in here. So nextly, we're going to take our reservoir cap. We're going to grease up that O-ring as you do, and we'll install it. This should just push down into place. I've removed the valve stem, as we saw earlier. That just makes it so I can push it down without having to, you know, fight with it. or I can pull it up, whatever. And then we're going to put our snap ring in place. Like that. Pull them up. There we go. And now we're just going to push this. Well, before we push that, we need to actually put the cap down. Very good. And now we're going to push our cap down. And this we're just going to tap in place with the, the orange dead blow. Perfect. Now we're going to shove down on this. That's pushing the IFP up, which is very good. What I'm going to do, because I want to test for leaks on the modification that we've done here, is I'm going to go ahead, put the valve back in it, and I'm actually going to put air in it. Obviously, we can't run it with regular compressed air. It creates moisture, and it's unstable compared to nitrogen. But I just want to make sure that this is not going to leak. So we're going to go ahead and put air in it. There we go. And now we're just going to pump them up. There we go. That's stopped. Squirt some soap around this thing. Looking for leaks. I see no leak. Fantastic. And let's wipe this back off. And then we're going to bleed that back out again. Stand back. There we go. Simply remove the valve core one more time. There we go. The purpose of this is because when I take it to the suspension place to get filled, I want these compressed. Lovely. Very, very happy indeed. Now we're just going to clean it up. It's dirty. It's covered in oil. Now I'm going to write up here on the head, this is the right rear. That way we know from whence it came. Okay, so pretty happy, I think. Time will tell. However, I can't install them yet. As I mentioned, I don't have nitrogen. And I'm not going to spend the $450 or so to get a tank and all the valves and all of that to do this, because I honestly don't really plan on doing this very often. And the local shop said 20 bucks, and they're going to fill the shocks for me with the nitrogen. So I'm going to go do that. So that's where I'm going to leave you. When I come back, we'll be heading over to the suspension shop to have the nitrogen charged right up in these here shocks. All right, folks, well, it's the next day, and I have gone to the suspension shop. I went to No Lean over there in Victorville, and went ahead and had all 4 of them shocks charged with the nitrogen. There they are, all 4. You can see that they're extended charged anyway. So really all that's left to do is reassemble, put the springs on, and put them back on the Arctic Cat. I'm going to go ahead and show you putting the springs on one of them. The rest of them are, well, they're the same. So you all know this isn't exactly rocket science. We're just going to put the shock back in the vise with the makeshift you know, soft jaw, aka it's a towel. And we'll start with the first spring. Remember, when I took these off, I put a zip tie on the one that goes on top, and that's fine. Doesn't really matter which way these go. Anyway, I mean, it does matter, but there's a shock spring. Probably should clean out these things. A little bit of brake cleaner. There we go. Now, the only thing you really need to watch out for when you're putting these on is, you see you've got where the spring ends here. You want to make sure that you clock this so the other spring starts on the other side. That's about it. I do have a judgment mark that I made there. And then there's probably one on the other side. Well, there was till I hit it with brake cleaner. That's fine. It's right there. And then, of course, I'm going to take the spring that has the zip tie still on it, and we'll put it on, and we'll just set it opposite of that. Get our compressors back out. Go ahead and grab one of our plates, and then we just compress the springs yet again. And then we just slide this guy back on. Sort of like that. As far as the top goes, I don't think you want it like that so much. It was lined up like kind of like that before. That's fine. We're just going to check one more time that those are on both sides. They are. So now we're just going to run this back the other way. Come on now. It's fighting with me, guys. It's fighting with me. There we go. There we go. Shock is reassembled, and it's ready to go back on the car. So, you know, obviously it's going to be the same process for all 4 shocks. On the fronts, remember the tenders, they go on the top closest to the reservoir. And that's about it. Put them back on the car, put the car back on the ground. When I catch up to you next, it's going to be in the desert, and we're going to be testing on that suspension. See? Not scary at all. All right, folks, well, we didn't do an intro because it is super windy out, and you know how the microphones do in the wind. They just don't. So, we're testing the shocks. We're in the Arctic Cat, as you can tell. And this time, I've got the granddaughter with me, and it's her first time. Don't worry, folks, we've got her in an off-road approved booster seat. And she's over here just laughing and cracking up. Anyway, we're gonna go find some bumpy roads and see how these shocks do. yeah, that's way better. Oh my God. It's like a different car. Folks, we're on a road with a lot of the washboards, and it was banging around and knocking, and it is just, it's nice. I know, but I'm telling you, we're just chilling. I'll slow down a little bit, you can catch up. That's my girl, that's my girl. You like it? You're liking it? You're having a good time? That's my girl. I think we did a good job on the shocks, and with that, we're going to just close out the video, and that'll be it. Thank you all for watching. Sorry the video was a little bit long. I put chapter marks for you just in case you wanted to skip around a little bit. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I learned a lot trying to do this all on my own. In the meantime, y'all ride safe, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye now.